Well, where'd you live?
We still live down east of Sterling.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we stay down there.
Yeah.
She's married to my husband's
Yeah,
brother.
he's
Yeah. I know that. Leonard is where?
Wisconsin. I'm going to say, hey, you don't have a picture of Ronald Leonard, huh? And his family.
But I got them at home.
I got to look for one.
I seen Leonard about 6 years ago. I was still doorman in the Civic Center. And we had wrestling. And he was
Yeah.
up to your place.
Yeah, and we went there.
And your husband was there.
He was here for Aunt Christina's funeral too, wasn't he?
Aunt Christina?
Or Aunt Maggie's?
No, Arnold Michael.
No. We were in Washington when Arnold Heupel passed away, and Leonard was at one of the funerals. And we were there too. That was Aunt Christina's funeral. Leonard was here.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
He was here for Arnold too.
See, he was for Arnold. See, when Arnold passed away, we were in Washington, then we couldn't go back.
See, when Arnold's funeral was, Leonard's wife's brother died. And we come from there, up here, and the Linda said Arnold Michael died. So Leonard went home, and turned around, and come right back to the funeral.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was up there in the hospital when he was up there. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. He was pretty young yet.
Yeah, he was only 4 years older than I am. About. How old was Arnold? Do you remember?
Oh, I tell you, I don't remember nothing.
See, we played together when we were kids, but he was older than I was.
Yeah, not much.
Not much, no. Because we played together when we were kids, me and him.
Yeah,
See, he comes first, then Ernest, then me.
yeah.
See?
If you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Arnold was 50.
I think, yeah, about 55. 54. Let's see, I'm 57 now. How long is he dead now?
No?
How long is he dead now? 3 years?
Oh, yes.
He died before Granny, that's
About 3 years.
5 years. About 3 years. Before. Is it out? I thought it was longer. No, he died after that. Yeah. And I died when we went to Washington.
Arnold died before me
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because Ida and Emma was here.
Yeah.
And the other Stern called up and said he was going to get Maggie, and I heard about it. I said, what you call it, told me. And I called the nursery home and told them not to let it go out with somebody that just come with a car and don't know anything about, because, you know, she was in bad shape.
Yeah. I remember she was in a wheelchair.
Yes, and they said they're not going to let it go unless, they said, there is somebody here with a van, and he hauls it to a doctor. So they see, and his life is with it. So they know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's what they did.
She was in a wheelchair. I remember they parked her on the end of the table.
Yeah,
I was just talking to her.
Yeah, and then I've been up every Sunday the last few years. After Chris was gone, I went up every Sunday and visited a while, because that's all she could take.
Yeah.
Just about an hour or so. Well, I was alone then already too, and so I went back again. And I was up there, and that was a week later, after Adolph was dead. And when I come in, she was laying on the bed, and her head went like this. And she was sleeping. And so I went and I called the nurse. I says, what is this? She says she had a stroke. when they got back from the funeral.
Oh, yeah.
And I says, well, can I wake her up? Yes, she says, we'll wake her up and put her in the wheelchair. She says, if you want it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I says, there's no harm done, is there? She says, no. And they dressed her and put her in the wheelchair, and I went in, and she was sitting there talking, and then her head was standing still. But then she lay down this morning. So I went and I says, how would you like to go out? That's what's a nice day. I'll push you out to get some fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
You want that? Yeah, she said. So I pushed her down the hall, and when I got down there, what the desk was where they were sitting, one of them come running, oh, no, not out. He says, well, so I talked a little, and the nurse says, well, you have to take her back. So they went and took her back. And I went home. That's the night she passed away.
But she talked. Huh?
Oh, yeah, she talked.
See, our mother couldn't talk at all when she had her stroke.
Huh?
When our mother had her stroke, she was paralyzed. from
Oh,
here
yeah.
Down. She couldn't
Yeah.
talk. Nothing.
But she talked until about 11 o'clock that night.
That's because she was definitely dying. You know?
Yeah, because she knew when everybody come in. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was with her, and as each one of the kids come,
Yeah.
I don't know if she saw him or not, but she knew by the voice, and she knew each one of the kids.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Till about 11 o'clock, and after that, she...
yeah. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes.
So then if you're 80, you're 87 now.
Huh?
You're 87.
I was 87.
Then how old were you when you came over from Russia? Then you had to be a little older
Eight.
than mother. Oh, mother almost said she was 11. She couldn't have been 11.
Who?
My mother.
Your mother?
Yeah.
Oh,
How old was
no.
she when she was on
Your
the
mother
ship?
was, Adam was 3, 2, and your mother, I guess, was 3 or 4.
Okay, could you remember all that?
Well, I can, but now since you started that, let me see, now I want to get that straight. I was 8, and your mother was 2, 3.5 years younger than I was. Then she was 4.5.
4.5. She always
That's
thought she was older.
Huh?
She thought she was older. Yeah. Unless she said that you were older. Maybe she did
Oh,
say that.
yes.
So then you remember it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I come over. See, in 9 we come over. I was 8, and then in July I was 9.
Oh. I know she told us one time how all these people died on the ship, you know.
Oh,
And I said, how could she, how could she remember that? She must have remembered it though. She said a lot of people died on that ship.
no, sure.
Yeah. What was the name of the ship?
Well, we had 2 of them.
When you came up to.
We had one from Russia to Liverpool, England.
Yeah, said he came to England.
That was a hot house. Cattle folk. Well, someone they didn't all die, but she wouldn't know of any of them dying in there.
No, she must have just watched.
Well, that was, but they could have died.
Yeah.
You see, they had a big cast iron kettle, held about, I would say, 300-400 gallons. Soup. They throw in whatever, the beef or whatever they had, I don't know what they had for meat. They throw the whole works in. And then they cooked down. That was tender.
I suppose nobody cared as long as they would eat.
Well, I tell you, they eat. If they don't want to starve, they eat. They eat and throw it up so far as the toilet wasn't necessary.
They over the sides. How long did it take them to come over here then?
Well, in the first one, a whole week till we got to England, Liverpool, England. And that should have, well, the big ship had about three times further. And we come over in 5 days from Liverpool to Albany. So that was 10 days on the water. No, that wasn't too bad. There were some people that come before us. They stayed on that little ship there to Albany in New York a whole month.
Then you got to New York. How did your folks ever get to New Leipzig?
To New Leipzig, to
Yes,
Hitler.
yeah, that's a long way from New York.
There was no New Leipzig.
Well, you made New Leipzig. Yeah.
There was the old Leipzig.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what happened. We landed in Wishick. South, Wishick, North. And then, see, my mother's sister, Gold, they lived there, 2 miles out of town from Wishick. And that's as far as Dad had money. That just reached the Wishick. Then they come in and got us with the wagons. There was no car. And then we was there about a week. And then Dad wrote Uncle George a letter and said we would come out if we had the money. Me and Dad. I was always fighting with them guys down there. And so Uncle George, he sent us money, I think $10. There was cheap, you know. And we come up from Wishick on the through line, and we stayed in the old that hotel, I call it, old wreckage hotel, you know. And we had to stay overnight and catch the North Pacific train to get to Heupel the next day. And I'll never forget that night. Dad, he was Irish sweet. All at once, Dad jumped up and he put the light on, a match first, to find the string for the light. And boy, there was just red to that was. And he stood and he just upset. So he went down and he said to the clerk, I think he's married. And took it down. He said, here. Oh, yeah. I suppose that's what he said. You get lost. So, now the next morning we come down awful early. I could have slept there. And then we got the train. And we went to Heupel. And of course everybody was German there, and everybody knows the Heupel brothers. There was, let's see, there was 6 of them down there.
Oh, they were there already.
Oh yeah, they come over in 1903 and 4 and 5. And 3 of them was living right close together. Uncle George and Uncle Fred was living on the same section. And Uncle Louis lived about a mile north from Uncle Fred. And Uncle Arthur lived down south of New Leipzig, down by Stowers. That's not 11, about 14 miles. And Adolph was working for Frank Rakusik, that was close there to Uncle Fred and George. And Gus was working for rail. That was about 6 miles south of Uncle George, where Uncle Gus was working. And old Lemke, Chris Lemke, he was in Hebron. He come in the next day, you see, that was 33, 4 miles from Hebron. And he was in with the wagon, he come a day before. I think he took a load of wheat. It was right in the spring, you know. And somebody said there is one from the south, from the Villa country. Well, that was Uncle George's address. That's where we want to go, to Villa. And then this old man Lemke come along. Well, he was a young fellow here. And he says, I heard you're out, yeah. And he says, I'm going down that way, and I'm going a little out of my way, not much, he says, about a mile, and I'll take you to George. I know George. They called German.
Yeah.
And so we got in the wagon, and away we went. Old man Lemke, he didn't crowd his team, but we got down there. Well, we left 12 noon. We got down to Uncle George. He was just in from the field. And that was around 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I know it was getting dark. And Uncle George was a bachelor. We went up to Uncle Fred, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, and she cooked dinner for us. Well, that was no job cooking dinner.
Yeah.
If you had eggs and potatoes.
Yeah, meat.
Well, meat,
Flour.
yeah, if you butchered a hog or something, yeah. We had supper up there, and then Dad and Uncle George said I should stay up with Uncle Fred. No, I said I'm going down to Uncle George. Well, Uncle Fred says, Peter says you stay here. Yeah, Uncle George, he had a cut there. I don't know how the devil they was going to both sleep on that cut. Uncle George said, yes, you go with me. Tell his friends with me. The next day, they went to Heupel, and Uncle George, and Uncle Fred, and Uncle Roy, they went to give that money to bring the family out. And I didn't go back, I stayed, because he had horses, and I could ride in the old country, you know.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted. Right around the pasture. And they went back, Dad went back, he got the family. They come up with a train from Wissahick to Bismarck, and they had connection. They didn't have to stay overnight. And the next day they come up to Heupel. And then when they come up to Heupel, that was night then. And then, of course, there was a lot of they moved from the old country.
Yeah.
The next day we went out and we had an awful rain. Oh boy, and that Heupel was just one of the times full. There was Uncle Lloyd, Uncle George, and Uncle Fred, with 3 wagons. And they bought flour.
That was the main thing, yeah.
Well, there was rough times.
Oh, I know. I can.
Yeah, when they got on the Hart River, it was thankful. And it just went in. and they tied down the wagon.
Did they cross the river then? Oh, they went through it, right?
The wagon was just loaded.
Mm.
But they had a load of flour on. That's what held it down. Otherwise, it would all went.
Then that's where they went to the Lexington.
No. They went down from the church. There was a little light.
Oh, that's right. You told me that.
You know, Mother was pretty sick when they come down. We stayed at Uncle George. He was single and we had a big house, a new house. Mother was pretty sick. And Pauline was baby.
That's right. That mother's the mom.
Yeah. She was only about 4 months old. Could have been 5 months old. I don't know if it's I think it's going to be next month, her birthday. And we left over there and April, when we left Brooklyn, our village. That was in April. And we got to Liverpool, you know, that was in May. The time we left, in May we got to Liverpool. And we left there and then find out the 8th of May, we got to be.
That was a long trip. And then Mary
I
and
love the trip.
Mary and Ida were born in
Who?
Mary and Ida, they were born later, right?
Mary and
Yeah. They were born in
In the United
United
States.
States, right? They was born over there too?
Well, Mary, she is right on the radar. There's only I that was born here.
Oh, you mean, is Mary older than Mom?
But no, but younger.
Oh,
Well, see, Mom was 4 or 5, and then there was Aunt Mary,
and then on the phone.
and then
Oh, I see.
Aunt
That was,
Polly.
Oh,
Adam, and then was Mary, and then was Pauline. And then
Ida
I.
was born there. Okay.
Yeah, that's all it was.
She was born there in the United States.
That's the only one that was born.
Oh. That was the, you came from Odessa then, right? There was a village?
No, we come from Castle.
Castle?
Yeah.
I almost thought Odessa. Scratch that one.
No, our town, the closest town was Harrisburg. That was the closest town. And Castle was a village.
Oh.
And Newburgh was a village. And Nydorf was a village. And Rosen was a village. It was a little town. That's the harbor, Rosen.
Oh.
That's where we
That's
got.
where you got off.
That's where we got on. And that was quite a little ways, not too far from Harrisburg. That was the first harbor, Rosen.
Did you have a hard time getting on? Did you have to get a visa or anything, you know?
The
The
one.
government, did the government let you on, go, or did you have a hard time getting on?
That time there was nothing.
Oh,
But where we got stuck was in Liverpool, England. You see, that's where your mother got reference to where they all died. They didn't die, you know, they were sick.
sick.
And so was Catherine and Mary. Catherine, she couldn't hear. She couldn't see. And Mary, she was kind of blind. She couldn't see. And that was the whole trouble to lay us over for, what was it, 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks. I'm not sure. I think I got this from Rosen to Liverpool and stuff. That was early, I think. That was in March when we left. I just can't remember.
Yeah, well,
But anyway, we was gone over a month from talking from our home till we got to Uncle George. I know that. But this ship, what we come over from Liverpool, that was a luxury. And the reason we got on, there was a rich family. They had just one son, was Catholic. He went to Strasbourg. And they got us on that quick liner. Otherwise, we would have to lay over, probably have to go back, see. And she insisted on that we go with that liner. And so we all got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, see, we all got that wrong. That's why I said, when Millie went to check on Odessa, Russia, and all this and that, they didn't come from Odessa, Russia. Mom always said it was a village, but the kids took themselves, they took it onto themselves to say it was Odessa.
see, my sister works in the White House in Washington. And she was looking, remember I called you there in March?
Yeah.
And she went in the archives in Washington and looked under Odessa, Russia, which kind of ship brought the folks over, and she couldn't find it. See? So she looked under the wrong village to come over or something.
Yeah. Well, what did they find for there? What village? You know the name of it?
No, I don't, she don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
I bet that was Harrisburg. That was a
Yeah.
town.
That was a town.
Yes. And that was something what we call here a county. And that's where she got it.
I bet, see?
Yeah.
I think she did say something like that.
Yeah, that's where she got it. Because the village, they didn't have nothing.
Yeah. See, that's when I called you there in March, she was over at Bismarck.
Yeah.
And then she said, find out from Uncle Adolph what kind of ships they come over. She said, and I can look in the archives in Washington. But if she didn't have the right town or village, then she still couldn't find it.
Well, now, what did she say? What make you ship was?
She told me, but I can't remember.
Well, I tell you what it was. Now, the name of the ship is really what I don't know, but it was Carl Sperry Bureau, was the owner of the transportation ship. So he also was the, what you call the captain of the Russians and England. Yeah, he was a guide, you see. So, I don't know.
So it must be, actually, it must be recorded in Washington
Oh,
when you came over.
Yeah, but they looked under the wrong
well, I
things.
got my citizenship paper. I got it up in the bank, but you see, I have to record it here, citizenship. See, I got to be a citizen through my dad in 23. And then we had the recording 2 years ago. Everybody had to get the citizenship paper. Now, there is something where John really made a dirty trick. He went and burned up that citizenship paper. There was a will. And he burned that whole thing up. See?
Yeah, I kind of remember something.
Yes. And then I went to Mark. When I took out my Social Security, I went to Mark. They told me to bring my certificate, you know, anything. Well, the baptized certificate, that's all over Russia, state and church. And I couldn't get it. And then Heupel, the fellow, he was in the quartet in Bach. You see, I went to school there. And he says, I can't give you no copy. He said, that's against the law. He says, there's only one here. And the other one, your dad must have, or your mother, somebody had. So I told him what happened. He says, that's it. I can't give you another one. No copy. And he never told me any different. So I come back and I went over Social Security. I told him what happened. He says, you tell him they should stop in and look themselves when they come up. So I went in and there was a woman in there and I says, if you want to see about the citizen, you stop in up there. That's what he said. And you can look at it, but they don't. Well, she says, that's funny, they don't release. I says, I don't know a thing about it. Okay, so I got my Social Security. And then we was here 2 years ago. Last year, the law come out, we have to show citizen. I says to the fellow that was correct at that time, I told him what happened. He says, well, your record must be here in the Capitol. So he gave me the telephone number and I called the Capitol. I asked him if he had the record from my dad. I told him my dad's name, my mother, and all the rest of them. And he says, you hang on, he says, and I'll look. And he got the book out and he called back and he says, now call the names down. So I called every one of them down. He says, I got it right in front of me. I says, well, how can I get it published? Oh, he says, I'll send you one.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, he says, you'll have it in a couple of days. I said, well, can I come up and get it and pay you, or how is that? Oh, no, he says, you just stay down there. He says, that'll be down there. Here it comes, everything.
Oh, nice.
Black and white. So I got the copy, and they made a duplicate down here, and I took my copy and put it in the bank box. So, but I don't think there is any name of the ship. But I know that much, it was a luxury liner, because I heard some already, that's quite a few years ago, that come over to that. Then they had everything on there, all regulation, and it was one of the finest cafe in there you ever saw, and oh, it was just wonderful. But this first one, by that was a hawk show. Yeah, and they was eating that stuff, and I don't know how come they didn't all die. I don't know if any of them died. I don't know.
I suppose there was a lot on there.
No, somebody would have known.
No, right. There was something on there.
Yeah, we had a couple of fellows there that was shoes, single fellows, and they had the feet hanging up, you know. They had horses in there, cattle at the bottom. They butchered once in a while, and they brought this down, you know, and then they had filters on from the old country, yes, you know, from the window. They put it down on the floor and they jumped around on that beach.
Well, is your father buried then on the homestead?
Oh, no,
By
no.
the little church, right?
There used to be a church north, or, well, to correct you right on that, from Willa, from Nyberg Church. You've been there. That's south 6 miles. And then 2 miles straight east. There used to be a church there, Congregation Church. And that's where he is buried.
Is that where Reverend Heupel preached then in later years?
No. That's where Reverend Heupel preached. That's the Lutheran church.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and that's the Congregation Church where that was buried. Yes.
That's what I thought. Good paper recording.
Huh?
That's what I thought. I thought that the Lutheran church where Reverend Heupel, he probably was.
Yeah. No, me and Catherine, my sister, we was the only one that was Lutheran, you know, stayed Lutheran.
Yeah, the rest of the congregation.
Yeah, the rest of them, they all went to different churches, you know. John, he was Baptist, and then he went back to the congregation.
John, he stayed on the home place, right?
Oh,
Who stayed on your home place? Nobody.
Nobody. That home place was sold the 3rd year after my dad homesteaded. There was only 340s. That's all there was left. And Uncle John come over in 1910, and he homesteaded. There was 340s by the Heart River. And they built rock houses to get it, see. Mother and Racine, it was mixing the mud and the mud and the rocks up when they was building. It was big walls. And
There's still one sitting, someplace by Highland. There's one of the houses sitting there, rock house, made on rock. Still on there.
oh, north of Elton.
By Highland.
Oh, but I,
See, my dad,
oh, I know. Yeah,
yeah, there's no sitting there.
yeah, right south of Highland.
Yeah,
When you go over to Clark.
right. See, my dad's father is buried right by Highland.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, we went to find the cemetery before my dad died. Fred.
Yeah.
When just before he died, a year before he died, he come up and he said, Loretta, I'm going to take you and show you where my dad's buried. He said, so you can show Loretta. So then we went to Isle, and on the other side of Isle was the road goes that way.
Yeah.
And he's buried in that cemetery out there.
Oh, yeah, I know what that is. Right south of Highland over the hill.
Yeah, that's where he's buried.
Yeah, and I always was wondering who that land was. Was it named Jake
Jacob.
or Fred?
Jacob.
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 Yeah, I always was wondering. Because, you know, my last wife, Elizabeth, she had the son buried there.
Oh.
Yeah. And her mother-in-law and father-in-law from my husband, first husband there, they sons, they're buried there.
I seen the name.
Huh?
Besa?
Yeah.
I seen the name.
Yes. And her son was just an infant, you know, and then the wind and the Curtis, the fence was afloat, blowed sand on that much, so we dug that out. But it didn't do any good. It filled up anyway. And then where her father-in-law and mother-in-law was buried, there was a fence around. And that was a barbed wire fence and filled up with dirt. And then they had to plant some kind of bushes in it. So they went and they got her son-in-law, Johnny Martell, his brother, Brett Martell, from Elgin. He lived right over there. He had to pick up a four-wheel drive, and they didn't know how to get that fence off, and so Elizabeth says, "Chick fence on, she didn't make any effort." So Elizabeth says, "Get a chain around and just drag it right off the whole point." So he hooked on, and he dragged it off. Then they rolled it up and hauled it in the dump ground. And then they cleaned it up.
Yeah.
That was the last time I was up there.
Yeah. I think there's a fence around there now.
No, there is.
There is. See it?
Oh, yeah, around the
That's
cemetery.
yeah.
Oh, yes, they always been.
There was a,
Wow.
Dad's father's got a big high tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just shaped of lions.
That's the one I always wondered where that line come from.
Yeah, that's Dad's father. And his mother is buried in Curtis Falls, Minnesota. Dad's mother.
Oh, yeah.
She died out
Yeah,
there.
I remember her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she died out there.
Didn't she stay with you over here in St. Anthony one time?
That's when she stayed with Mom and Dad. They lived in St. Anthony at the time.
Yeah.
And she stayed there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
right.
I thought Dad's dad was buried by that farm.
It's buried right by Ohio. You go to Ohio, and then when you get
Over
to
the
Ohio,
hill.
then you go over the hill. And there you
Oh.
go. That cemetery.
Well, who did he make that tombstone for then?
I don't know, maybe some little kid. I never did know that. Then his brother John, see, Dad's brother John died when he was 24 or 23 from a vascular appendix. And he's buried just a little ways over along the fence, but there's nothing on it.
Maybe that's who Dad made that tombstone.
Oh yeah, that's what he named it for.
Well, that's
oh,
who
yeah.
See, he made a tombstone.
Yeah,
Out of wood.
wood.
No, he made it out of rock.
Did your dad have a brother, John?
He died when he was 23.
He was older than your dad. He died when they still lived there or lived out in the farm. They lived once north and right. Your folks.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I know he was a young man when he died.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and I know your aunt, Mrs. Lincoln, she was a pet.
Yeah.
I know her well.
Yeah.
And your dad and your mother, when your dad died, after he was dead, I think around before, they lived north of Leipzig, about 4 miles. And the farm that they lived on there was named Adolph, the last name Adolph. They moved down here to Bismarck. That was a very long time ago. But your folks didn't live very long up there.
No. I was, let's see, how old was I when I left New Leipzig? I was in 6th grade.
When you left New Leipzig? Was you that old?
Yeah. Then we went to New Salem.
Yes.
And then we went to Mandan. Well, when we got to Mandan, I was in the 8th grade.
You were in the 8th grade man then? You was that old?
Yeah. Yeah, I stayed with your mother.
Oh,
When I
yeah.
went to school in Leipzig, I stayed with your mother.
Oh, yeah.
Schultz,
Yeah,
Grandma
true.
Schultz. And then I walked out to school almost, and I
Oh.
stayed with Grandma Schultz.
Yeah.
I didn't like to stay there because they always made me clean my plate up.
Good.
And I hated to so bad. But I like to stay there otherwise. Grandma, you know, she was blind already then.
Yeah.
And she'd go to the bedroom and she'd steal around under the bed and she'd come out with a big apple for me, you know. But
Yeah, I don't know why she got married.
I don't remember him too good, Mr. Schultz.
Yeah. I just begged her.
Well, she's buried, they're all buried together in New much.
Yeah.
I went out there with him.
Yeah. I wanted, when my dad died, I wanted him to be either up to Newport or back to town.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Oh, boy, you ought to have heard them give me a lecture. No, that's where he went to church. I says he was no member of that. He just went there. I says it don't make sense.
He's buried way out there now.
Yeah, well, there's some other there.
Yeah.
They built a church.
Yeah.
And then he, there a year, then they sold that church and moved it to Perth.
Has he got a stone on his grave?
Huh?
He's got a tombstone.
No.
Oh, you don't.
No, I made one. It's a blade of that big